Third down and 20.
We're finally starting our breakdowns. I think we're timing it well where we're going to break down every division leading up to preseason. I think this will get us right around. I think it'll be the week after the Hall of Fame game is when we'll be wrapping it up. So then we'll, start getting our actual season breakdowns ready. We wanted to pick a division with more stability, because we still have the Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, a few other, Zach Ertz. Not that that's like a huge domino, but, there's some dominoes to fall. So we decided to go with the NFC West division first as our breakdown. Now, who knows? Russell Wilson just came out today and said he never requested a trade. But after we do this breakdown, who knows? The entire division could just flip-flop and somehow everyone's traded. Jimmy G's starting for the rest of his life. Trey Lance is cut. George Kittle quits football. We'll see.
Dude, so, Russell Wilson didn't request a trade. Like all the leagues that we play in totally aren't for money.
Schefter literally tweeted like the list of teams Wilson like it was a specific list. It wasn't even he just wanted out. Like Wilson and his agent made a list.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, we kind of are hoping that this is going to be the most stable one and then not too many transactions will happen. Because, let's be fair, these teams all send away their draft picks before they even can use them, and they're all in, cap hell. So I don't think a lot of, differences will be made. And with
the modern GM way.
Yes.
Cap hell, trade picks.
Yeah. Well, there's one team that did have a top 3 pick, though. And so we're going to break down quarterbacks first. And so what we have is, I don't know if you want to pull this up or not, Frank. Probably not. I guess it'd be a little convoluted. But we're breaking down quarterbacks. And what we want to do for each positional rank is we want to talk about who we thought was the most overrated player at their position, most underrated, most confident that they'll, maintain their value or meet expectations going into the 2022 season, and who we think the backup is to own at each position. So, just really breaking it down real quick. Cardinals have Kyler Murray, who's, keep trade cut will do their rankings. Kyler Murray is quarterback 3. Colt McCoy is the backup. He's not even ranked. Then the Seahawks have Russell Wilson, 10th, QB 10. Geno Smith, not even ranked. 49ers have Trey Lance, QB 9. Jimmy G, QB 34. And then the Rams have Matthew Stafford, quarterback 16, and John Wolford, not even ranked. So these are our NFC West quarterbacks. We have a lot of pretty modest takes on this. I think we'll start with most overrated. And I don't know what your opinion on Trey Lance is, but Frank
I was actually going to edit mine and put my O next to Trey Lance. I love Trey Lance.
9? What?
But 9 is crazy.
Yeah, so consensus, we all think Trey Lance is overrated.
Over Russ? What?
It's I like Trey Lance.
That's wild. Yeah, I love Trey Lance. I took him most recent startup I did. I took him in the second round of a startup. It was the later half of the second round, but still, that's high draft. I'm QB 9 over Russell Wilson.
My issue with I have Justin Fields over Trey Lance, which does create an issue. Russell Wilson.
That's fair though. That create an issue doesn't create an issue. Well, you have him, Justin Fields, ranked over Trey Lance. Dude, Trey Lance, top 10 is ridiculous for Trey Lance. It's just insane. I think that's part of the problem, JT, is that there's a huge argument if he's even the QB2 in his class. You can make a clear argument that he is the 4th most valuable quarterback in this draft class.
Yeah.
No one knows yet. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I personally, I'm someone who does have him QB2 in this draft class, and I'm still dude, over this. Just the fact that, if you're in a startup draft, you see Trey Lance and Russell Wilson on the board, come on.
The issue too, though, is so we're doing it for the division and who's the most overrated out of this division, and I think this division is first off, the quarterbacks are pretty stacked. There's no real quarterback issues with any of these teams unless Trey Lance doesn't pan out. But the other quarterbacks, Kyler Murray, Lounis we put clown face on him, but Lounis was arguing Kyler Murray could be quarterback one.
Quarterback one.
And then, Russell Wilson, who Frank will always go to bat and say is criminally underrated. And Matthew Stafford, who is on a new team, but like this is
we
a very
all
good
like
new team to be on. Yeah, we all really like Stafford. So it is tough for Trey Lance, just because of the division he's in. But I do think that moves.
Dynasty wise, even though I love Stafford, I think I'd take Lance over Stafford for Dynasty, like if I was in a startup. But over Wilson, like number 9. And I really like Stafford. I have Stafford in probably my top 14 or 15.
The thing is, I think that Stafford and Lance are a lot closer for me than it is for consensus. Like, if you were to ask someone, like, well, here's the thing, right? If you were to ask someone, okay, well, I want Trey Lance, I'll give you Stafford and one on top, they're probably going to ask for a first, which I'm just never going to do. I think that's quite frankly ridiculous.
No, there's such polar opposite situations where it's obvious Trey Lance is significantly more valuable to the rebuilding team. Stafford is significantly more valuable to the contender. So for me, I feel like the best way to kind of view it is how far apart would they go in your picks in like a startup draft, where it's like you don't know yet if you're a contender or a rebuilding team. Like, how far apart do you think they should be picked?
That's a fair point.
I just think that people completely underestimate how much longer Stafford can play.
Yeah. I think 10 years might be pushing it, but like.
Not 10.
I think
like 7.
7. Yeah, 7's fine. And most leagues, who knows if you even last? If you're with randoms, I don't know if your league even lasts 7 years. So, who knows? All right. Well, I do think that brings us to a good point, though. We all across the board. I think this is the only one across the board where we're kind of in agreement. Is the smallest positional group next to tight ends, but we all think Matthew Stafford is the most underrated. And Frank kind of just did underline why that is the case.
I could have put Wilson at that too, at 10. But I'll go Stafford. Stafford's underrated by more spots, but I do think Wilson should be higher than 10.
Yeah, we kind of covered it, but now moving on, this is kind of where we do have a slight difference. Most confident that the player will maintain value or meet expectations. Frank and I both say it's Russell Wilson. Lounis, you have Kyler Murray as quarterback 3.
And I do think Russell Wilson is also a correct answer. I think he's going to meet those expectations, if not exceed them. I really do think Kyler is going to be a top 3 quarterback this season. I think it's kind of between him and Josh Allen for that 2 spot. I think you can see Lamar Jackson fighting for it. Justin Herbert, we'll see how he is in his second year. It's hard for me to definitive. Dak, Dak close. He's in my top 8. I don't think he's gonna have a better season than Josh Allen or Kyler.
I kind of agree. My one issue and my one worry about Kyler isn't really even Kyler. It's Cliff Kingsbury. Like, I don't know what Cliff Kingsbury, like, what his plans are for this season, but I feel like most NFL teams have kind of caught up to him, and he's gonna have to be a lot better of a coach this year and come up with better plays for the Cardinals offense, because I think they have gone pretty predictable.
I agree. I do like what they did in the draft and free agency, though, with bringing in more weapons. I know Frank also loves the Rondale Moore pick. They got some nice linemen in this draft to help protect Kyler more. I know the running back situation is kind of a wash, but they made it work with Chase Edmonds and Kenyon Drake, which really is also a wash. So I'm excited to see that offense next year.
They are up there for, worst running back group and worst tight end group.
Here's the thing. They were going to make the playoffs last year until, I don't know if you guys remember, the second half of the season, Kyler was playing injured.
Yeah.
They looked a lot better the first half when he was fully healthy. I think they started the year 7-3 or something, or 6-3. I forgot exactly what it was. But if Kyler, and he still played the second half, but he wasn't 100%. If he can stay fully healthy, which they bulked up their offensive line, I like his chances.
I mean, you kind of just underlined my main problem with the Cardinals. Now, this isn't my problem with Kyler Murray and his value. And honestly, this helps out the receivers. You can argue it helps out Kyler Murray. It's just that the entire pressure of this offense is on Kyler Murray. Like, if Kyler Murray doesn't carry this team to victory, then they're probably going to suck. Because you look at every other team in this division, they can run the football. Even the Seahawks can run the football. Like Chris Carson, and they got those big-ass O-linemen. Like, they can run the ball way better and way more consistently than the Cardinals usually can. And just like the talent of their depth up front and their running backs are just better. So it's like that maybe that helps Kyler because it's like, okay, well, Kyler, you just have to go out there and win us a bunch of football games until we hopefully make the Super Bowl. But I guess, I'm kind of foreshadowing like what offense I think is unreliable. Generally speaking, if you are relying on one guy to carry you, your offense is super unreliable.
Yeah. Good points. If you guys don't have anything else to add on to the Kyler talk, the only other thing I will say is across the board, we said Jimmy G would be our backup tone as far as the quarterback position. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory when you're putting them up against the likes of Colt McCoy, Geno Smith.
Here's the thing, too. Jimmy G's probably going to be starting somewhere next year. Again, I don't think he's going to be like a franchise, like 10-year quarterback for a team, but I could see him starting for a team for a year or two soon.
It's definitely I definitely see Jimmy G starting somewhere over the Geno Smith starting somewhere next year.
Whoa. Geno Smith is elite, right?
I'm sorry.
You put some respect on my guy John Wolford.
You just have to look up his name. I feel like you might just have to look up his name.
He's like looking down the list. You can see his finger going.
John Wolford, actually, I felt like he wasn't bad in his playoff game. But he's no Taylor Heineke.
He looks better than a 9-finger golf.
I still think Heineke still might start by week 1. But that's a whole different issue.
Wow. Okay. Let's just move on then. We're talking running backs at this point. There's a lot of running backs, so if people want to just hang on with me real quick.
These first 3, it's all red for garbage.
No, I was just doing it by team color. But so we have Chase Edmonds, running back 30, James Conner, running back 45, Benjamin, running back 84 for the Cardinals. Then the Seahawks, they have Chris Carson, running back 25, Rashad Penny, running back 59, DJ Dallas, running back 69. Nice. Travis Homer, not ranked. Then you have Raheem Mostert, running back 43, Jeff Wilson, running back 57, Trey Sermon, actually running back 24, Elijah Mitchell, running back 49, Wayne Gallman, running back 79. And then the Rams have Cam Akers, running back 6, and Darrell Henderson, running back 42. So looking around, there's way less consensus on this one. We are almost across the board agreeing that Chase Edmonds is the most overrated on the Cardinals, running back 30. I saw an interesting stat. I wish I remember who tweeted out because I'd give him credit. But this person was looking at who had the most goal line carries, last year as far as running backs are concerned. And Kenyon Drake was, I think, like running back 2 on that list. I wish I had the stat in front of me, but he was a top 5 running back in goal line carries, which is more so, I think, a Kenyon Drake and James Conner stat than it is a Chase Edmonds stat. Like, Chase Edmonds really isn't going to traditionally have a ball handed off to him and he's going to run it into the end zone.
Plot twist, what if I told you it's a Rondale Moore stat?
It could be. I don't necessarily think that. I think the issue was Chase Edmonds was more so.
No, I do think it helps James Conner. I think James Conner's going to get those touches.
Chase Edmonds was more so they tried throwing the ball at Chase Edmonds in the red zone and have him like sweep it around and run in. And I think that's where Rondale Moore is going to take those kind of targets away from Chase Edmonds. So, touchdowns are very important. They're literally 6 points, which when we're looking at these Cardinals running backs, that's probably where you're going to get most of your points from. So, like, if Chase Edmonds isn't going to be able to get into the red zone, I don't think he's worthy of being a top even 32 running back. I don't even care if he's the starter or if James Conner's the starter. Like, if you're not getting in the red zone, you're not really worth it for me, Chase Edmonds.
So I'm not as low on Edmonds. I think what you're hoping for with Edmonds, and the biggest fear for Edmonds isn't really James Conner, it's Rondale Moore. All those short passes, all those like screens, those dump offs, those little crossing routes, those little jet sweeps, like he was getting a decent amount of those last year, and like he would have games with decent fantasy production because he would have like 6 really short yardage catches. If those are going to Rondale Moore, then it's a wash. It really depends on how that offense is looking and how they use both those guys.
Yeah.
In my Cardinals analysis, I really felt like Chase Edmonds was a product of opportunity, not a product of talent.
Yeah.
And I'm making this up on the spot, but he does not pass the Devontae Freeman test, which is
Okay.
if
The
you were to
Devontae Freeman
randomly
test.
add Devontae Freeman into a backfield, are you legitimately scared that your running back will become irrelevant? Like if dude, I'm telling you, if the Cardinals were to sign Devontae Freeman tomorrow, you'll see 1,000 posts on the Dynasty subreddit. Chase Edmonds, is he done? Is he done? Is he gone? Is he gone? Like all that. Like, dude,
The
you really
Devontae
want me to
Freeman
believe
test.
into a running back like that, dude? No shot. Honestly, freaking DeAndre Hopkins, I legitimately believe would be a better running back than Chase Edmonds currently is.
Yeah, a lot of Chase Edmonds hate right there.
Imagine Hopkins on those wheel routes against linebackers, though.
Dude, Hopkins was
Yeah.
actually like sick on screen passes last year. Like he was
Yeah.
the only dude that really was good.
I do think that leads us though to our next kind of point is, Frank, you and I were kind of on a similar page with James Conner. You said he was the backup tone. I said he was the most underrated, and it's kind of just a secondary
Potatoes,
part of our
potatoes.
it's kind of a secondary part of our main point where we're just Chase Edmonds haters. So I think we could kind of breeze past that. The next thing is you two actually both say Elijah Mitchell is the most underrated.
Yes.
What's with the Elijah Mitchell love?
I think next season, Mostert's going to be free agent. What's his face is going to be coming off the injury. 49ers running back just tore his ACL. Jeff Wilson. McKinnon's already gone. I think the top 2 backs next year are going to be Sermon and Mitchell. And I don't think I do think Sermon's going to get a lot of touches, and that's why we're all fans of him. I don't think it's going to be a complete like workhorse situation. I think we're going to see Elijah Mitchell being used kind of as a change of pace or receiving back guy. And in a 49ers offense, if you believe in that offense in general and Trey Lance and Shanahan, that could be a very valuable piece. So if you're telling me he's RB 49, I would take that. And again, that's not for this year. This is for next year moving forward.
I agree, Lounis. Kyle Shanahan is one of the few offensive coordinators / head coaches that has consistently had multiple like reliable fantasy running backs. And what I saw from Elijah Mitchell, his game film coming into this draft, I really feel like he is what they wanted Jerick McKinnon to be in this offense. He's honestly one of the best natural pass catchers at the running back position I've seen in a while. The dude has extremely fast hands when catching the football, which you usually don't see from running backs. So I like Trey Sermon and Elijah Mitchell a lot. It's just Elijah Mitchell's price tag, generally speaking, is pretty good. It definitely rose a lot higher than I was expecting and hoping coming into drafts, because he was like my number 1 sleeper running back coming in. And now he's not really a sleeper running back anymore, but
where is he going in rookie drafts right now, you guys think?
Probably like mid
Super
to late
flex.
3rd round.
Mid-third, I would have said.
Okay.
Yeah. But okay, you did touch on another point. I'm not as high on Elijah Mitchell. I don't really see it with him.
Hey, no vision.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that you got 1,000 damn running backs on the roster. Like Mostert's not going to disappear.
His name Wayne Gallman's also still there, or just got there. So my thing is, though, we are talking now Trey Sermon, though. We can move on to him. You two both said you're most confident he will maintain his value and meet expectations. I said he was a backup to own. So I guess we're a Trey Sermon podcast.
How confident are you in Mostert staying healthy?
Like not
I don't give a shit if he's healthy or not. I don't believe in him being relevant.
Yeah, I'm more on that page too.
Yeah, no, I do think Sermon is the more talented back, but I could understand the argument like, oh, it might take some time for the rookie to get on the field for like Shanahan to fully trust him. I'm just like, whether he beats him out with talent or he beats him out when Mostert goes with Mostert. And I like Raheem Mostert when he's healthy. I don't think he's terrible. I just like Sermon better.
This might be a hot take. I don't really think it is. So you guys judge. I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. Like Trey Sermon is just day one starter. Like Kyle
100%.
Shanahan's like, here you go.
I think I think so. I think they'll both be getting touches week one, fully healthy, but I would not be surprised if Sermon ended up with more.
People kind of ignore that. Like they point to all of the Kyle Shanahan running backs in this current 49ers team, and you have the McKinnons, the Mosterts. Like Trey Sermon, Kyle Shanahan went and drafted Trey Sermon. And not only that, he spent a 3rd round pick on Trey Sermon. Like it wasn't a cheap price to go and acquire Trey Sermon,
exactly,
compared to the likes of JaMychal Hasties.
All these other guys are either undrafted, late round, or picked up off free agency for really cheap. This is the most they've invested into one.
My issue with Trey Sermon though is he is like in super flex drafts, like he's going in the range of Mac Jones, Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall, Elijah Moore. If he hits,
and out of those lists, I'd probably Mac Jones and Elijah Moore. I'd take over him. Bateman will be close. Marshall's close. Bateman and Marshall are close, but I think he's right in that range with Bateman and Marshall, in like the 203, 204, 205 range. Is that overrated to you? What do you guys think? Like, where would you guys have him in the second round?
My issue is, I think if he hits, like if running backs hit, they're just worth more than wide receivers that hit. I'm like pretty confident in the likes of Rashad Bateman hitting, Elijah Moore hitting, a little less so with like the Terrace Marshall and Rondale Moore, but like I still really like them. So that's kind of where you get me. I'm taking Trey Sermon 100 times out of 100 over Michael Carter though, and they're going like essentially the same spot. So
here's my thing with Trey Sermon, right? And this is going to be a long-winded kind of a thing.
All right,
because I want to go back to Raheem Mostert really quickly. And I don't think many people realize that Gus Edwards is a more reliable running back, statistically speaking, than Raheem Mostert has been. Raheem Mostert has not rushed for over 800 yards in his career. And that one season that he ran for like 772 yards or something like that was easily his best season. He hasn't really come close to that. On top of the fact that he doesn't have draft capital, you can make an argument that he is just a product of Kyle Shanahan and a product of opportunity when the 49ers desperately needed a running back and they couldn't rely on a guy like Tevin Coleman because of injuries and just down play, and Jeff Wilson is Jeff Wilson and whatever, right? These other running backs that were there, Raheem Mostert just happened to be the one to rise out of the fire. Now you're comparing him to someone like Trey Sermon and even an Elijah Mitchell. And Trey Sermon, before the draft, me and you, JT, were really on that Trey Sermon train. I mean, I have been adamant about the fact that I think that Trey Sermon is closer to Travis Etienne than Travis Etienne is to Javonte Williams. And that is not really priced into his price tag. And I mean, yeah, for good measure, Travis Etienne was a 1st-round pick, which I was not expecting, and Trey Sermon was a 3rd-round pick. But like Lounis alluded to earlier, I think that Trey Sermon will be the day one starter. I think he is well worth that 203, 202, 204 draft pick that you will spend on him. And I put out a tweet with it a while back. You could kind of see the writing on the wall in that he was going to get drafted into a good situation or in the 2nd round. And then people were going to say Keyshawn Vaughn, Keyshawn Vaughn, Keyshawn Vaughn, which was going to keep him from going into the late 1st or that 201 spot because everyone is so concerned about one data point in the most recent draft class instead of looking at Trey Sermon as a completely different player in a completely different offense.
I see what you're saying, Frank, and I'd raise you. I have Trey Sermon closer to Najee Harris and Travis Etienne than I do any of those guys to Javonte.
And here's the thing. People bring up like people act like, oh, any running back that's not in the first is I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. You literally just said it. The running back.
Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah, any running back not picked in the first is a Keyshawn Vaughn. Like Antonio Gibson just happened last year also. It's possible that some of these running backs hit out of the first round. Like it's not not everyone's a Keyshawn Vaughn. James Robinson, like it's not unheard of. And Trey Sermon's already getting a lot of deserved attention. So
if there's any position where draft capital really doesn't matter too much outside of like the first 20 picks, it's the running back position.
Yeah.
If you just look at, like, obviously there's always going to be if it's a guy taken in the first 10 picks, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if you just look back at previous draft classes, if there's one position where it doesn't have as much of a direct correlation, it's tight end and running back.
Mm-hmm. I thought
those are the two positions.
All right, so just wrapping up running backs real quick. The only other people I think we really need to hit on is we kind of all
Henderson.
Well, we all kind of hate Rashad Penny, so we're not picking him at his value. Just had to throw the kind of necessary.
All these Seahawks running backs not named Chris Carson.
Chris Carson is my guy that I'm most
even
confident
Chris Carson
will
I hit with the
Oh, see, I think Chris Carson has a chance to be the running back one this year, like a high chance.
Here's my problem. I like him this year. I think he's worthless for this season.
I don't know about worthless, but
not fully worthless, but like it gets bad.
So that the Seahawks running back breakdown is just it's Chris Carson or bust. Like I don't even want DJ Dallas or Travis Homer on my team. Definitely not Rashad Penny. So then we just have the Rams. Let's see, Lounis, you had a couple takes on this actually. You said Cam Akers was the most overrated out of this group. There were the NFC West running backs. And you also said Darrell Henderson is the backup tone, which kind of does go hand in hand, I guess.
Yes. Not that I'm like, that makes me seem like, oh, Henderson's going to steal Akers. No, I don't think that. Akers is clearly more talented than Henderson's. I'm not saying that at all. I just think Akers, and I still like him a lot. I value him as one of the top dynasty running backs. And I would say he's an RB1. Like he's a top 12 dynasty running back. But 6 is high. 6 is a little bit too high. Especially look at some of those top guys coming back. Saquon's going to be back. McCaffrey's going to be back. Nick Chubb's fully healthy. You got I can consider someone taking Derrick Henry over him. I mean, someone taking Akers over Derrick Henry, I probably would too. But you have Cook, you got Kamara. I think Dobbins is right in that discussion with him. You got Jonathan Taylor. There's a ton of guys there, and then there are guys kind of right next to him in the rankings also. It's tough for me to go as far as 6 this early. And the reason I wrote Henderson as a backup tone, Akers throughout his entire career hasn't been Iron Man type durable. And I think when previous years when there was always kind of like a 3-back mix with Malcolm Brown involved, this year it's just the 2 of them, really. So if Akers would ever get hurt, I think Henderson was productive when he got opportunities. I just think Akers was clearly the more talented running back. So I think Henderson can fill in well for him.
You know, it's interesting. I actually think one of our viewers wrote a comment. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. He was asking about Darrell Henderson. Now, I'm not a big Darrell Henderson guy. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, regarding the Rams, so this is what he said. Regarding Rams Super Bowl and the McVay train, because on me and Steed's podcast, I kind of went off like, okay, I put the Rams to go back into the Super Bowl, and I'm on the McVay train and the Rams train. He said that he thinks the almost forgotten player is Darrell Henderson. Brought up he had insane college stats. Didn't really get a ton of work behind Gurley, but you look at his 2020 game logs, he did have some good games last year. He had some games where he was that dude. He had 138 carries for 624 yards and 5 touchdowns, plus like another $150 receiving. So like now that Malcolm Brown isn't in the picture, we have seen McVay use the hot hand approach. Maybe now I'm not huge on Henderson. I will admit I'm just not a huge Henderson guy. I never really liked him as a college prospect too much. But I think he did bring up a couple of good points in that if we see McVay use this hot hand approach, or even just Darrell Henderson gets some time as like a receiving back, he could produce similar, if not better numbers, in terms of like, can he get 700 or 800 yards?
Yeah. And I do understand the writing on it. I think there'll be specific games. I don't think he's going to overtake Akers on the depth chart. Akers is insanely talented, but I do like Henderson. I think he's a nice backup to have. If I was an Akers owner, I would really want Darrell Henderson. And because that's the thing with Henderson, like when he was given opportunities last year, his yards per carries wasn't bad at all. He showed he can pass protect and be effective in the receiving game. It's just Akers was more talented, so you couldn't take him off the field.
My issue with Cam Akers, and where I also agree that he is overrated, is that it is tough putting him at running back 6, right? Because like unless you're Derrick Henry, like even in half PPR leagues, but definitely like full PPR leagues, like you need to catch the ball if you're going to, be a running back 1, especially a high end running back 1, which is where we have.
You can make the case Henderson's a better receiving back.
Yeah, Cam Akers in college had under 70 receptions in his 3 years, at Florida State, and then this year he only had 14 targets. Yeah, 11 catches, receptions. Yeah, which I mean, partially could be blamed to Jared Goff and the McVay offense that they don't really pass the ball or running back a whole lot. But like, do I expect it to change enough where he's getting like 3? I need at least like three targets a game to you, Cam Akers, and I don't even know if that's in the realm currently. I'm not projecting 3 targets to Cam Akers per game, which does make me pump the brakes on Cam Akers and makes me look at the likes of Antonio Gibson or even like a J.K. Dobbins a little more, just because I know that they're slightly better at catching. Well, Antonio Gibson like much better at catching the ball than Cam Akers, so it gives me pause on Cam Akers. I do think that wraps up our running backs. Do you guys have anything last thoughts before we go wide receivers?
Yeah, and once I said overrated, I still view him probably in the back end of the top 10, but not as high as 6.
Yeah, I have one last little hypothetical to bring up.
Okay.
So right now, the running backs that I have that we all have had some sort of either backup to own or this player is underrated tag on are James Conner at running back 45, Elijah Mitchell at running back 49, and Darrell Henderson at running back 42. Mm-hmm. How would you guys rank the 3 of them? Because I would personally have it price included, right? Consensus price included, because that's how it works, right? You're paying
price included.
Yeah, price included. I'd probably have James Conner at 1, Elijah Mitchell at 2, Darrell Henderson at 3. I'm curious how you guys would have it.
I'm exactly the same, Frank. Exactly.
Price included makes it more interesting with James Conner, but I'd probably still go Mitchell, Henderson, Conner.
And one last thing I would like to add is that I looking at this, Raheem Mostert at RB 43 is like
he's
really
pretty low. That was surprising.
Good. I am so out on Raheem Mostert, honestly. Like I am done on the Raheem Mostert train.
Well, is he 30 now? If he's not 30,
29.
he's about to be.
He's
so like
29.
Regardless of what kind of season Raheem Mostert has, like just looking at a value perspective, people are always going to be like, oh, look how many running backs they have behind him. He is 30 years old. Like you're just never getting your value back with Raheem Mostert. So
I'm praying, if I'm a Raheem Mostert owner, that he has a good week 1 so that I can sell him for like a third. And I will be a happy, very happy player.
I think currently right now you probably could get a third for Raheem Mostert. I think that's
if I'm a contender,
feasible.
Maybe a contender, which would be a late third.
I think he is erased from relevancy after this season.
Probably, but I just mean a contender maybe will pay as a desperation play for this season.
All right, we spent way too much time on this, and that's a lot of part my bad. So let's move on.
All right, so we're now moving on into this. This is also the biggest position group, but I'm just going to try and run through this. So bear with me. Yeah, well, I'm just going to say everyone, but yeah, we'll hit the main ones. Cardinals, they have DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver 12, Rondale Moore, wide receiver 39, Christian Kirk, wide receiver 72, AJ Green, wide receiver 121, and Andy Isabella, also known as Jacksabella, wide receiver 140, all according to Keep Trade Cut. Then the Seahawks have DK Metcalf, wide receiver 4, Tyler Lockett, wide receiver 36, Eskridge, wide receiver 68, Freddie Swain, not ranked, Kay Johnson, not ranked, Tamarion Terry, actually wide receiver 128, Connor Wellington, not ranked. Then the 49ers have Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 17, Deebo Samuel, wide receiver 29, Jalen Hurd, wide receiver 123, Juwan Jennings, Mohamed Sanu, and Richie James, not ranked. And finally, the Rams have Robert Woods, wide receiver 31, Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 32, Van Jefferson, wide receiver 76, Deshaun Jackson, not ranked, Ben Score, whatever, not ranked, and Tutu Atwell. Yeah, Tutu Atwell, wide receiver 78.
Yeah, did you break out my my Andy Jagsabella joke?
I did.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, the funny part about Andy Isabella is he's wide receiver 140, and all of us are just like still overrated.
Yeah, before we go into anyone specific, I have to say this. This division has the most underrated receivers. I thought like looking at their value for their price, like
I was pressing
every
the whole
single
time.
one of these guys. It's like
I thought
Robert
it was like
Woods, Cooper Kupp, dude. Even freaking D Hop, like wide receiver 12, I think is a crime for D Hop. Like he's almost guaranteed to be a top 5 receiver next year in terms of fantasy points, and you can get him at wide receiver 12 price apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot going on here. I guess the Cardinals are a good place to break it down, and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, my main concern, again, is the Cliff Kingsbury offense, like what's going to happen there. But I do agree that he is underrated. You two both believe that he's the most likely to maintain his value / meet expectations, and I almost agreed with that. I picked someone else that we could get to in a little bit, but I do think it's going to be hard for him not to maintain value. You know, being wide receiver 12 with like a legitimate,
he's gonna put up a top 5 season.
He's got a legitimate chance of being a wide receiver 1, like overall. So
he's played 8 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He has 5 top 5 PPR seasons out of 8. That is like what. Also, by the way, 4 top 5 seasons in a row.
Yeah, and think about those 3. I'm betting some, if not all of them, are when like pre Deshaun Watson, where like the quarterback situation in Houston was just shit, or that rookie year when Deshaun Watson got hurt.
I'm pretty sure he's on like 4 All Pros in a row, or he's got to be close.
He's ridiculous. He's in the.
But somehow his price has gone down. I think that's only because that number next to his age went up. Dude, we have D Hop in our orphan team league, and it's like, dude, we are getting so lowballed, man. If there is someone in in a similar position to us, where either D Hop is on the block and they're trying to get younger, or D Hop is just on a bad team and they're trying to rebuild, just buy him. You will not get a better value for draft picks receiver than D Hop, it feels like.
The reaction of some teams that we're trying to trade him to, like you think we're trying to trade him Christian Kirk. Like we're giving you DeAndre Hopkins. It's ridiculous. Yeah. He's very much underrated, at least in the leagues that we're in. Maybe
you guys just gotta wait it out.
Just another Cardinals wide receiver that we all think is underrated though is Rondale Moore, wide receiver 39. I feel like that's very a
low rating. I wasn't expecting to be that low.
That's a very.
I think that's pretty fair for him, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was a little high, wide receiver 39.
I just think like
I think he's gonna get.
Where's Adam Thielen?
Good question. I'm gonna vamp while I look it up, but
in a startup draft, I'm probably taking Rondale over Thielen.
Yeah,
Thielen,
but
okay, hold on.
Okay.
So things changed since we actually posted this. So now Thielen is wide receiver 39. Let's see if Rondale.
How the turntables have turned.
How the turntables have turned.
Rondale's like wide receiver 19 now.
No, he's wide receiver 42 actually now. As we're looking at this.
Okay, so that's a little bit of better price.
So
42.
I just think like Rondale Moore is someone.
Here.
Rondale Moore is someone who he's tiny and like it is is an outlier, right? But if I'm betting on a specific outlier from this class, like it's not Devontae Smith, it's not Tutu Atwell, it's not Kadarius Toney, it's Rondale Moore.
It's more interesting.
I just think shut up. I just think if Rondale Moore hits, like he's gonna be so good.
Yeah, but the thing with Rondale Moore too is that like, yeah, he's small, but what 5'8" or 5'7" receiver is built like Rondale Moore?
Yeah.
What is it? The Ohio State defense is a ton of NFL players. Ask them if they think he's small. The way he fucking just like
Rondale Moore can squat 2 of them. He could squat 2 of their linebackers.
That's the problem. You're comparing him to like frail ass small dudes.
No, I was
you're
just comparing him
to like like
Tony's not.
You're
frail,
talking about him.
But...
No, not Tony, but like
Tutu Atwell.
When you look at his size as a data point, right? You're comparing him to like Taylor Gabriel, probably, right? Like in terms of just height. That's not who Rondale Moore is. On top of the fact that the Cardinals desperately needed a playmaker, and it looks like Rondale Moore is the only dude with eyes that's going to make that happen. I mean, maybe AJ Green, but
I'm still pounding the table for Christian Kirk. I still love Christian Kirk. I don't love him, but like at his price of literally a wide receiver 6, almost wide receiver 7, like yeah, just I'll take Christian Kirk at
Christian Kirk or Tony.
Don't make him do it, man. JT will literally take anyone over Tony. He will take crumbs under the table over Tony.
My issue is like, I just know I could flip Tony for way more than Kirk. But at the prices they're at, like give me Kirk 20 times out of 10 times, like ahead of Tony. Like just the prices.
Yeah.
You know?
What if prices aren't involved? What if prices aren't involved and you had to keep one?
Oh, no, don't do this to me.
He's gonna make you say it. He's gonna make
No, I'm gonna stand strong and I'm gonna say Christian Kirk.
Hold the line.
Well, here's the thing, right? At least Christian Kirk will catch some passes this year. The only thing Tony's doing is receiving punts. So unless you have punt return yards and punt touchdowns on your on your fantasy teams, then give me Kirk over Tony.
This isn't your guy in Denver, JT. He's getting
my boy Seth Williams. I literally have over Kadarius Toney. I think I gotta look at my board, but I think I do.
We need a drug test at 3rd and 20.
The thing is, real quick though, with Rondale Moore, I love Rondale Moore's ADP in rookie drafts right now. In Superflex rookie drafts, the fact that you can consistently pick him up in the 2nd round, and you can consistently pick him up, like a mid-second, not even very early second. Where I think I have him ranked right now 112 on my rookie board.
Yeah, like 112 or 201. There's a chance he's there at 205.
I just checked my big board real quick. Seth Williams 304, Kadarius Toney 307. Thank you.
But yeah, Rondale Moore, his rookie draft value for how talented of a prospect he is in the situation that he went into, because after my Cardinals analysis that is on the channel, by the way, I was just left coming away saying this team needs a number 2, because their second most reliable receiver was Larry Fitzgerald at like 70 years old. And he just couldn't consistently separate like he could in his prime. Rondale Moore perfectly fits what this team needs, because DeAndre Hopkins was the best player with the ball in his hands. DeAndre Hopkins is getting like triple teamed out there. You need someone else that you can just say, hey, here's the football. Make something happen that isn't Kyler Murray or D-Hop, because that's how you stop the Cardinals. You stop those two guys, you can't run the ball. Kenyon Drake ran into the back of his offensive line half the time. You know, Andy Jagsabella was only good like one every 3 snaps.
I do think we spent a lot of time on the Cardinals. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, we did. Let's go on to the Seahawks.
All right. I think the Seahawks, I think, are a very underrated team, just from top to bottom, and the wide receivers are part of that too. I mean, it's kind of hard to say DK Metcalf is underrated, but even I struggle ranking AJ Brown above DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf's wide receiver 4 currently on keep trade cut behind the likes of AJ Brown.
It's hard to move him up one spot. It's easier for me to move DK to wide receiver 6 than it is to wide receiver 3. So that's why
it is kind of they're all very
he's in
close
that top
up there.
5
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
Tyler Lockett, we all said, is very underrated at wide receiver 36.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of Dwayne Eskridge. I'm in the camp of he's overrated. I actually have him on my big board. He's only a couple spots ahead of Tamarion Terry for me, who's the undrafted Seahawks wide receiver, who I think has the best chance of making this roster. Frank, you like Eskridge if you have any real thoughts about him. Otherwise, I don't have a
Eskridge. I like Eskridge. Wide receiver 68 price, I'd take it. You could pick him up really late in a startup. His rookie draft value, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of a lot of the time. He does vary a lot, but as a third-round pick, I think he's all right. He's a receiver that can make an impact on all 3 phases of the field, which you usually aren't going to get at a receiver of like his current value, which I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just because Russell Wilson's underrated, a lot of these receivers are underrated. Do either of you have any other thoughts on these kind of like lower ranked guys? I mean, I just said I think Tamarion Terry's my guy.
I really like Tamar. I think Tamarion Terry kind of got fucked over for like him. Wasn't there whole drama with like trashing his school? Yeah. Like that's
COVID.
I don't really care about that. Like I don't care about the thoughts on that. I'm just looking at the talent, and I think he's more talented than where he went. So he's someone I like at that price.
There's rumors that he might be lazy too, though, which does have me a little concerned. Like
that's different. If that's the case, that's one thing. But if it's really just him disputing with his school over how COVID was fucking run, like I don't give a shit. Well, really.
The thing is, for me, just real quick, like 10 seconds, is he like took off like mostly like he came back, took off. It was a whole controversy, but like he was working on getting ready for the pro day, and then his pro day came around, and like he really didn't do that well. Like he had a pretty bad pro day. In a year where everyone had like amazing pro days because their team just skewed everything. Yeah. So that is concerns for me, but I'd like him at Florida State. I don't know. Those Seahawks wide receivers in
at that price, I like him.
All right. So moving on 49ers because
hold on.
Go ahead.
I have my most underrated receiver.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
On the Seahawks. And that is my boy Cade Johnson out of South Dakota State.
The Jackrabbits.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like Cade Johnson. He was one of my biggest draft misses because I thought he was going to go in like the mid to late 3rd round, and he ended up going undrafted. Dude, I have him as Deontay Johnson light this year. He's a guy he didn't test well, but dude, he has nuanced routes, really good hands, good at tracking the football. Of all these jaggy looking Seahawks receivers, you compare him to Connor Weddington and Tamarion Terry and Freddie Swain and Dwayne Eskridge. I'll put my money on the Cade Johnson horse. I think that I'm a big fan of his game, and I think he can make an impact. And you can pick up for quite literally nothing.
The Jackrabbits. Well, if you guys are looking for late round rookie draft flyers, there you go.
I do think most of these guys are free, and if any of them could end up being a starter, that would definitely boost their value. But now moving on to what I think is the most interesting team as far as their wide receivers are concerned. 49ers, you got Brandon Ayuk, who actually am I reading this right? Frank, you have him as
Lounis had him as his most overrated player.
Lounis has him as the most overrated player, which I also agree. I think Brandon Ayuk might be a little overrated, to be fair. George Kittle's been out.
I'll get into my case
Deebo Samuel's out.
The receivers.
Oh, I think we're just talking about Brandon Ayuk.
Okay, well, say Deebo's real quick, because that's going to be part of my case.
Deebo's wide receiver 29, I think.
Yeah. Ayuk, if you want to say you were scared because Deebo got injured last year, okay. I'm not going to say all of a sudden Deebo's injury prone because he had one foot injury that they say takes like a full year. I don't think Ayuk is that much better than Deebo. Like, if you told me at the same price I could get either one, sure, I'd lean Ayuk, but I don't think he's that much better. Like, Deebo's at 29 and Ayuk's at 17, and 17's pretty high for Ayuk. Like, I know he showed a ton of flashes, but you got to realize on the offense, Kittle's still always going to be the number one. They're always going to have running backs involved. And it kind of comes down to how much better do you think Ayuk is than Debo? Because Debo had arguably a better rookie season than Ayuk. And I want to pull up really quick the games that Debo did play in last year. Because the games that he played a majority of, he was still putting up decent numbers. Let me pull it up really quick. Debo Samuel.
Y'all hating.
It's mostly okay. So Debo in games where he played at least 60%, and so pretty much he played 6 games last year. One of the 6 was only 34% of the snaps. That was the one he got injured. But in the other ones where he played a decent amount, he had 15 fantasy points on 6 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Another game, 5 for 65. Another game at the Rams, 11 for 133. Buffalo, 6 for 73. Like he was playing well when he was healthy.
Yeah, my thing is I think Debo is underrated. I actually have him as my most underrated guy. I think people aren't giving Debo enough credit for what he is as a player. He did have the injury. And I just think to put Brandon Ayuk as your wide receiver at 17 when there are, 3 really good receivers on this team, I think it's tough to have Brandon Ayuk as a high-end wide receiver 2, getting close to borderline wide receiver 1. That's just my thoughts.
So Frank, let's hear. I want to hear Frank's case now. You're calling this haters. Talk about Debo and Ayuk's rankings.
I think they're both underrated.
Yeah, that's a good argument for it.
Ayuk over wide receiver 17.
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I think Ayuk is better than T. Higgins.
Disagree.
Oh.
And I think Ayuk is just as good, if not better, than CeeDee Lamb.
Whoa.
Also disagree. But
okay. I think he's.
This is not news. I've been on the Ayuk hype train for years now.
Here's the thing.
Ever since he was out of the womb, I was like, Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 1, baby.
I'll give you that he's more explosive. I think if you get the ball in his hands, he's more dangerous than those two. But I like those two more as just pure receivers, out muscling people for jump balls, route running downfield. I do like Ayuk more with the ball in his hands. I think he's more explosive. But Higgins and especially CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb there are definitely things that CeeDee Lamb is better at than Ayuk. I think he's better at tracking the ball than Ayuk is.
Yeah.
And I think that he's just more polished. But Brandon Ayuk's ceiling, the ceiling is the roof, as JT quoted Michael Jordan the other day. The ceiling is the roof for Brandon Ayuk. Yeah, I just think he just scratched the surface of what we saw. Whereas someone like T. Higgins, I think that we've seen T. Higgins, not necessarily his ceiling, but I think that coming out, he was a much more finished product than Ayuk was, which people aren't seeing as I am.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add to these wide receivers is I feel like Juwan Jennings is very underrated. I think he's probably going to be the other.
I think the guy, I know he's never going to be talked about, but Richie James didn't look bad when he played last year, I thought, especially toward the end of the season. He had some nice weeks.
It's a competition between them two, and I think Juwan Jennings is going to win.
Dude, Juwan Jennings is a freaking dog. And the thing that's interesting about him is he's big as fuck, but can play in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, then looking at the Rams, we're kind of running short on time here. We all agree that both Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp are underrated wide receivers at 31, 32. I have Robert Woods as my most likely maintaining value. Frank's got Cooper Kupp at his most likely maintained value.
I had Cooper Kupp as my most underrated.
Yeah,
32.
we all think these guys are super underrated. 31, 32 for, they're getting an upgrade at quarterback. Yeah, they're getting an upgrade at quarterback.
This is going to be a top 10 offense, but apparently they're not going to have a wide receiver too.
Yeah, so pretty crazy. I think Van Jefferson's still at wide receiver.
You gotta relax. It's some just like deep hatred for the school of Florida. I don't know what it is. I love
Kyle Pitts. I might be the number one Kyle Pitts guy on this podcast.
No shot.
Which one of you drafted Kyle Pitts in our startup? Which one of you? Oh, that's right. It was me. If
you lasted 3 more picks, I would have taken him.
You're a nerd, JT. How about that? Yeah, that's right. What's up?
All right. Well, I also think Tutu Atwell's overrated.
Well, no, because here's the thing: Van Jefferson at 76, I think he's gonna step in as a wide receiver 3 next year.
You don't draft Tutu Atwell with like your first pick to
I'm
have
not
him
worried
playing
about Tutu.
behind
I just think they wanted some deep ball specialists, and Van Jefferson's not that.
Van Jefferson's not anything.
And so they signed Deshaun Jackson. Not anything. He played well in the games he got snaps in last year. He had a pretty good game in that game against Green Bay.
He had one good game.
He was pretty good. He is second
still
round
like
draft
Van
capital
Jefferson,
too.
dude.
I like Van Jefferson.
Yeah, but he's also like 25 and is like his second year wide receiver.
Yeah, you're an
Very
ageist though.
I've just said Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are underrated.
Yeah, but they're proven. You're an ageist. If someone's
my
over
God.
the age of like 3 coming out of the draft, you're like, senior declare, get out of here.
If you're an old wide receiver and you're a high pick old wide receiver and you don't perform in your first year, like I have no hope for you. I'm sorry.
But what if
I
it's
just have no hope.
because of an opportunity thing?
You should have like opportunity. I think is overrated. I'll always stand by the fact that opportunity is overrated. If you're good, you would get more production.
Okay. We'll see. I think Van Jefferson will be decent this year.
All right. Last but not least, the tight end breakdown. The Cardinals have Max Williams and Ross Travis as their starting tight ends. Neither of them are ranked on Keep Trade Cut. Then you've got,
I think they got some guy from the Australian national team. Yes, that's a thing. I think they signed him.
I don't know what to say about any of these guys. Kittle's fucking good.
Look, most of these wide receivers aren't good. The ones I want to focus on are Kittle. We all think will maintain their value.
Kittle, Everett, and Higbee are the only 3 worth.
Wow. Okay. You guys both think Jacob Harris is overrated at tight end 43. I think he's the one that I'd want. I think this is the only guy of contention, really. I like Gerald Everett, but yeah. What's the hate towards Jacob Harris?
I've seen one too many tweets about him in OTA that I've just developed.
That is true. That is true. There's a little too much love for him right now where he's getting.
Right, I just think he's so raw that you're not going to say anything crazy. One thing I will say, this dude's interesting. I have not watched him at all, so take this with a grain of salt. But he's on a team with 0 tight ends, the Cardinals, and he has a relative athletic score of 8. That is Bruno Labelle or LaBelle, the tight end of Cincinnati. Yeah. Maybe something there. Maybe we should pick it up in our league because our team is so bad that we could just use anything.
That's true. It's not our fault. We took it over. This is just it's Kittle like literally on a throne, and then just everyone like they're not even allowed in the town village. Like they're all on the outside.
They're in the wasteland.
Yeah, they're in the moat. Like it's kill or bust for tight ends. I don't really have anything to say. And then
I'm on your side though, JT. I like Everett.
Yeah, Everett. I feel like Everett is underrated at tight end, like 23. As long as he could hold off Will Dissly, like he has a strong path to at least some red zone production.
As long as he can hold off Will Dissly.
You got to remember too, this is an offense that has been trying to add an athletic, go up and get the football type of tight end, and it just hasn't really worked out recently. Whether it be due to injury or the Jimmy Graham bait. I liked what I saw out of Gerald Everett, especially with what he can do in the Seahawks offense. I think that Gerald Everett is just kind of limited as that all-around versatile tight end. He's not a great blocker. But in terms of a guy that can create a mismatch, it's going to be interesting. And I think he can really fit the Seahawks offense that – when Gerald Everett, when he was decent on the Rams, is when that Rams offense was a little bit more vertical. When it went to more of a traditional West Coast scheme, you kind of saw, okay, well, that fits the Tyler Higbee skill set. Well, now that Gerald Everett is in the Seahawks offense, which is extremely vertical, Russell Wilson is one of the best jump ball, deep ball throwers. We could see that really benefit Gerald Everett, and he could be a guy that sneaks out of the wasteland a little bit.
Oh, hopefully, because I just got him in a trade, so I would love that. Let's move on to our last topic. It's which NFC West team is most likely to overperform and which one's most likely to underperform. I'll start us off. I have the Seahawks as most likely to overperform.
We all chose different teams for each single one.
All right, we're allowed 30 seconds to make our case, right? I'll literally time us. 30 seconds to make my case. I think the Seahawks are most likely to overperform because literally everyone's just underrated. Russell Wilson's ranked as a low-end quarterback 1. I think he's, top 5 potential. Chris Carson is ranked as a low-end running back 2. I think he could be a running back 1 this year. Then you have DK, who I still think will be DK. I think Tyler Lockett had a lot of volatility last year. If he even gets some more standard games, that's fine. And then Frank literally just talked about Gerald Everett. So that's my case for the Seahawks. And then Frank, give me your case.
My case for the Rams. The Rams, I picked them to go back to the Super Bowl. Getting Stafford back, Sean McVay can finally run the offense that he's been wanting to run in LA, the offense that was great with Jared Goff in 2018. Now you get a much more talented quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And kind of like we said, you think that the Seahawks players are overrated. The Rams don't have a receiver in the top 30 players in fantasy football right now, which is absolutely absurd. It's going to be a top 10 offense in the league.
All right, Lounis.
Okay, so Arizona. Last year, before Kyler got hurt, that offense was rolling. They had a good record. This year, they added some nice linemen. They added more weapons on offense. AJ Green, I love Rondale Moore. Fuck Kenyon Drake. I don't really care about him. Kyler Murray's going to have more progressions. More progressions. He's going to get better.
Okay.
He's going to be better this season, and I expect that offense to do really well.
I see putting you under the gun.
I'm going to start real quick on the
struggling.
teams most likely to underperform. Just go back and listen to to all three of us. Who sounded the most unconvincing?
I was rushed.
Lounis. The Cardinals are going to be the team most likely to underperform. They are the least complete offense. They have the worst coach out of all this group. Cardinals most likely to underperform. They were a defensively led football team last year. Look at the tape. Look at my Cardinals analysis. Go ahead.
Yeah. You made a convincing case when you just talked about Lounis not making.
Kyler Murray carried them to so many victories. I got faith. Kyler will back me up.
Yeah, like Deshaun Watson carried the Texans. How'd that work out for him?
They had a bad record.
All right. My NFC West team most likely underperform. It's the 49ers. I think you're just putting a lot of faith in the Trey Lance, Jimmy G combo. Not that I don't I don't dislike Trey Lance. I just think there's a lot of faith in a first-year quarterback and a quarterback that, other than taking them to the Super Bowl with a stacked defense, hasn't really shown a whole lot. A lot of injuries to this team just all the time. And a lot of youth that could go awry, haywire. There's a lot of issues that could happen with this team. That's just why I'm picking them as my most likely underperform.
Okay,
wrap
so
us up, Lounis.
I'm picking Seattle. What I saw at the end of last season from their offense was gross. I expect the same thing this year because it keeps happening. They always start the season great. I think the first 10 weeks they'll look fantastic. End of the season, it'll suck. They have brought in no new offensive minds, really. It's still going to be Pete Carroll. I don't know if he's going to let Russ cook. I don't know if he's going to go back to ground and pound. I don't know. Either way, I don't really like it that much. I'd rather see Russ just cook and hope for the best. But they didn't improve their O-line a ton. Not like they added a whole new crazy weapon. I know they added Everett. Whatever. But so I think this is going to be the offense where the first 10 weeks it'll look good. End of the season. And you lost on the road. You lost at home to the Rams against an injured Jared Goff and Wolford. Come on.